I think that sometimes we can become a little bit too far away and feel like we either know what the problem is, or also we can just really get scared that what we're putting out isn't what is needed. But you will know that if you're talking to people and if you're gathering that information, you'll know that. You'll know if you're on the right track.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. My next guest has identified that the best laid plans are only as useful as the cash flow to pay for them. Her goal is to help others gain power through financial literacy, behavioral science, and cash flow planning so that implementing wealth protection and wealth building solutions are comfortable and benefit families for the short and the long term. In this episode, Heidi and I chat about how money is so much more than the logical formula of income minus expenses, understanding your money mindset, and how emotions play a role in your money is super impactful to managing it successfully. So please welcome the incredible Heidi Ruhmor.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. So you are another guest at which we shared some crazy experience. Was it like a month ago now? A month and a bit ago?
Insane.
What did we do? Tell us, what did we do?
We were at some event where they convinced us that sleeping with rodents and having like no heat was totally okay and something to do as a business owner.
We loved it though. I mean, the first night, I know it was so cold. There was like 100+ women that were trying to plan their escape. But the thing is that we were all in it together. It was a collective, and like I could tell there was people trying to plot it to escape, but we didn't. Everyone stayed.
And I feel like when you go through an experience like that with other just strong women, you realize, there's so many things to be thankful for in business, and you just lean on each other and you become more vulnerable with, fellow female entrepreneurs. I think that's really what I experienced during that whole thing was when you have conversation with somebody who doesn't have any makeup on, is in their, camping gear, and they didn't sleep the night before. It's a different level.
Yeah. And I think didn't you dance until 2 a.m. one night?
The last night I did. Yes.
That's amazing. This random dance party broke out and you owned it. You're like, this is my party. Yeah. I'm dancing. Okay, let's jump into some quick questions. It gives the audience a chance to get to know you faster. Where are you from?
I'm from just outside Toronto.
Small town that has nuclear power plants and auto parts and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot of industries here. I didn't grow up here. I grew up just north of Kingston area, but we've called this place home for probably about 6 years now.
Cool. What is one of the toughest moments and scariest moments you had to face as an entrepreneur?
I mean, so my journey to entrepreneurship has been crazy. And I think it starting out was the wildest ride. I basically decided, okay, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to leave corporate and not jump back into corporate. And I wanted to start my own thing. And 4 days later, the pandemic was declared. So that was pretty crazy to not have that steady income. And then all of a sudden the world kind of exploded less than a week later. So that was a very trying time, especially with 2 little kids at home. So
yeah, I mean, to think being an entrepreneur is scary enough. And then all of a sudden the world shuts down. Yeah. You're like, wow, okay. Thanks for that.
I mean, I kind of feel like it was not that I manifested a pandemic, but I also, in my industry, it was very uncommon for you to have like Zoom calls and things like that. And I really wanted to pivot to that. So, and I was being told, it might not be possible. You might need to rethink that strategy. And literally the universe was like, no, it's okay. We've got you. It's all good.
Wow. And here you are 2 years. Is it 2 years later?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What month are we? What year is it?
It's like 2.5 years later. It's been a wild ride, but the start was very interesting.
Yeah. And like times it's been a blessing and some of it hasn't been, but maybe for you, it was a blessing. Maybe there's parts of it that helped you with your business.
For sure it did. It 100% did.
So tell me, what is your favorite quote?
So I really like a quote that I actually use quite often, and it's, there's more than life than counting calories and paying bills.
I count calories. I count calories until about noon. And after that, I give up. I'm really good in the morning.
I'm really good if I work out. And then it just then I start rewarding myself with treats.
Hey, that's all right. Sometimes you need a little Halloween candy here and there. Okay, so really quickly, what inspired you to start your business? I know you alluded to some of it earlier on, but what was the big aha moment?
Well, I had actually been downsized from my corporate job at the end of 2019. And I was really wrestling with, do I jump back into corporate? Do I do what I always really wanted to do? It's funny because I always said, if I ever lost my job, I would do this. And this is exactly what I'm doing. And then it wasn't on my terms, but the opportunity presented itself. And I thought, you know what? If I'm terrible at it, I can always go back. All of my 20 years of experience is not all of a sudden going to disappear. I can go back. I have enough contacts. So I felt really safe in that decision. And I just had this calling to do this money work become a money coach for a long time. I really saw a gap in some of the financial gurus that I was listening to and that I had access to. And I thought, this is so needed. So why don't I try it and see if it sticks? And here I am. So
yeah, it's totally needed. I had some incredible guests on the show, and some of us have discussed this pain point. And when I reflect back on it, especially as of late, it's the blocks that we had, whether it was in my agency days or current days, and actually breaking through that next level wasn't anything to do with our business, but us, our mind. And I always talk about the book, The Big Leap, where the author talks about the internal thermostat and how if we're worthy of $100,000, then that's all we're going to make. And if we think we're worthy of $1 million, it's something we can definitely achieve.
Absolutely. I heard a quote, and it was, wherever you stare is where you steer. And so I think that there is a lot of value in that, because wherever you're focused on, whatever you're looking at, that's really where you're going to go. And so if you're doing that inner work, I think that definitely helps steer you in the right direction. For sure.
Yeah, it's like mountain biking. We're actually teaching our boys how to do better mountain biking. And they always look to the left and to the right and the things around them. And that's where you're going to go. If you're looking off the side of the cliff, guess where you're going?
Exactly.
You're going to go. But if you look just ahead of you or where you actually want to go, then your bike actually guides you there.
Exactly.
It's fascinating.
That works.
So funny how that works. So tell us, first of all, I'd love to know a little bit about what exactly you do and how you help your customers.
Yeah. So I have been in financial services for over 20 years, and I really saw a gap in, I present these beautiful plans for people and they would say, I can't really afford that. And I always thought that was crazy, because if I looked at their information on paper, their income, their expenses that they told me, there should be enough cash flow to implement some of the solutions that I was providing. And what I came to realize, even in my own personal journey, was it wasn't how much money you made or what your expenses were. It was how you managed the rest of the money, like the variable expenses, the things that there was an emotional attachment to or tie to. Most people don't think of groceries as being an emotional purchase because we need to eat. But it actually can be. It's the very reason why you don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry, right? You can definitely be influenced by how you're feeling and your mood and your emotions when you go into the grocery store. So I think that having a really good handle on how to handle your emotions when it comes to money matters just really does change the game. And there wasn't, when I was looking for, there wasn't a lot of information about that. So I really saw a gap that needed to be filled, and I'd filled it for myself. Unknowingly, I was just searching and searching and searching. How am I making this great money and I have no money left over? Where is it all going? What's happening? So I really had to figure it out on my own. And being that entrepreneurial spirit from a very, very young age, I just always felt that if I couldn't find it, I would create it. And that's really what I did for myself. And now I'm sharing it with other people. And yeah, so that's
how the best businesses start. They make it for themselves and then it works. And then everybody else wants in. And then you're like, I got to charge you for this.
Exactly.
So how do most entrepreneurs or people that you work with repel great clients and often undersell themselves?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I think if you don't have a great handle on your finances, first of all, we don't talk about money too much, right? I often joke that when I had kids, I talked more about what was happening to my body after having kids than I ever did about talking to them about debt or money and making money, anything like that. And so I think if you don't have a good handle on your personal finances, oftentimes what happens is your business finances are a mess as well. And so the two really do feed on each other. And when you are approaching a client situation from a sense of, I need this client because I need to pay bills or I need to do XYZ, there is a different energy that I think is really put into that interaction, whether it's a sales call or prospecting or anything, any content that you're putting out. It almost acts as I need this. And I think your audience can feel that. Even if, we might not think that they can feel that, they really, really can. So once you kind of can clean up your personal, your business finances and really feel good, I think then your messaging really does change in a way that can attract people into your world, because you're now operating from a sense of, here's how I can serve you, instead of, I actually need you to do X, Y, Z.
Yes, the serving, provide value. I actually have a sticky note on my screen that says deliver results, because people want to work with me. They want to work with you because we provide the value. Exactly. And when you provide the value, the money comes. I remember when I was starting this business 3 years ago, and an affluent person, I was getting advice from this affluent person. And he said, well, what are your financial projections? And I'm like, I'm still figuring out what it is I'm offering and who I'm serving and why. I feel like once I figure that out, I'll have a better understanding of the money side of things. And like, the masculine way of starting a business was like, money, money, money. Like, what are your revenue projections? I'm like, dude, I don't know, because I don't know what I'm selling yet.
Yeah, totally.
When you're totally aligned with the thing, the products you're selling, the service you're offering, the money does come because you believe in yourself.
It really, really, really does. And I think that attraction happens on a more organic level. Like that's why for me, I'm very logical left brain. And for me, when, manifesting and all of that became very trendy. And I believe in manifesting and doing all the practices and affirmations and visualization and things like that. I really, truly believe in it. But where I think that whole messaging was really falling short for me was the inspired action piece and putting out the vibe of, this is how I can serve you. This is the result that you're buying when you decide to invest in me. Is you're not buying this product or this service, you're buying the result. And if I can convey that in a proper way that you're like, yes, I have this problem, you can solve it with this product or service, then that's really where your ideal clients can really find you and start getting attracted to your message.
Yes, I love it. Man, there's so many episodes too about identity that's kind of wrapped all in this, because how we see ourselves, whether it's true or false, is generally what we become. Mm-hmm. And when one former client was in the process of selling her agency, and she's like, wanted to hire me to help her through this acquisition, in which she eventually sold. Hallelujah. Shout out to you, Andrea. But part of it was like, she was blocking herself from making the sale, blocking herself from asking for the money, because she's like, well, then what do I do after I sell this agency? So it was like, she had nothing to do with selling the business and everything to do with what she thought people would think of her because she's no longer an agency owner. And I was like, whoa, okay, maybe we need to work on that before anything else. So she eventually sold, and she's still like, no, she's got more time on her hands and she's figuring stuff out. But there's a lot wrapped into identity too.
100%. And I think if you are really rooted in your passion for your business and what problems it solves, and you can convey that in a way that speaks to your ideal client. That's why I do a lot of consultations for, 15 minutes. And I've had mentors in the past say, you don't charge for them, you have to start charging for them. And the way I've always looked at it is, I need to hear what my clients are telling me is their problem instead of me assuming that I already know what their problems are. And I need to hear it in their words so that I can create my content, my solutions to try to mirror. I want people, when they read my stuff, to say, oh my gosh, is she talking to me? And I feel like that's how you can only do that if you're doing that market research and if you're figuring out those pain points of your clients. And so I think that sometimes we can become a little bit too far away and feel like we either know what the problem is, or also we can just really get scared that what we're putting out isn't what is needed. But you will know that if you're talking to people and if you're gathering that information, you'll know that. You'll know if you're on the right track or not.
Yes. And then when you're so confident in what you're offering, you can charge more.
Yes.
And you're confident in selling. I always go back to this example when I ran my agency, when we decided to increase our prices. We thought there was some magical formula where there was a spreadsheet where you can put in all of these data points and it would pump out how much you're supposed to charge. And realistically, there is some level of this. But we went from charging like $5,000 a month US on a 12-month retainer for our PR services to doubling that overnight. And why? Because there was demand for our services. So we had a waiting list, which is the number one point that you need to realize you need to increase your prices. And we were doing really great work. We won awards. We were industry recognized. And so when we went on the sales call one day, we went from $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month, just arbitrarily. And there was no pushback. It was like, great. Yeah, that's awesome. Send over the paperwork. Yeah, we'll start tomorrow. Yeah. And it was like, okay, now we immediately thought, we have to do more. We have to provide more services because they want to get the value. The reality is no, is we already did. We already established ourselves as the authority in the space. We had the credibility. We had stellar clients, and that was enough, right? That was enough. And all we had to do was just keep doing really great work. That was it.
Yes.
So like this whole identity thing is like, but are we really that agency that can do that? Are we good enough? Are we fast enough? Do we have great reports? Like all of these things is like, guess what? That $10,000 a month client didn't want the fancy reports. He literally wanted a 3-bullet email on Fridays. That was it. Just send me that. And it's like, whoa, we think we have to do more to provide the value. But the reality is, no, you just have to help them to the result that they're hiring you for.
Absolutely. And I think our brains are just wired to, first of all, keep us safe, but also to really have that confirmation bias, right? So whatever I believe, my brain is constantly scanning to prove me right because we want to be comfortable, we want to be right. And so when you have more examples of, well, I help this client, and then I help this client, and then I help this client, you start to, I think, believe more in the work that you're doing. And I know for me, I was the exact same. When I look at what I first started charging, even, 2.5 years ago, it's insane to me how low I had priced myself, but I didn't have that proof of product yet. I knew it worked for me, but I didn't know would it work for other people. And so once you get those experiences, and as you said, become that authority in that space and that expert in your space, then I think your brain starts to accept that this is who you are and this is what you can provide to people. And once you get that, I think that's really where that tipping point happens when it comes to charging. I hate saying charging your worth because that's not really, I don't believe that that's really a thing. Because I'm worth a couple $1 million probably for sure, right?
Let's talk about billions here, please.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you charge for a result and you listen to your ideal client. Obviously, if you're dealing with an ideal client that has limited finances, well, you can't then just go crazy and charge them. But if you have to, again, know your audience, know your client, and I think really have that proof of product to give you that confidence that you can increase your prices and charge more without having to do more. I feel like I really feel that because I was in the exact same thing. It's like, what can I add? What can I, because if I'm going to charge more, I need to add more. And no.
No, it's just working. So service-based businesses specifically, what the client wants is a good experience and a result. Mm-hmm. And so if your point of differentiation from somebody else, like say you're working with a dietitian or nutritionist, is like, what is the experience like working with that person? Think about like any sort of app developer. The game changer for some of them is the UX UI. So what is the experience for the customer? What is the interface for the customer? It's like same thing for your service-based business. Mm-hmm. So there's not about doing more or offering more to increase your prices. It's about having that customer and every single customer feel seen and heard. Mm-hmm. They want to know that they're not just a number, but they're a soul that's a part of your business and you're helping them get those results.
Yes. Yes.
So operations, the boring stuff in business is automating as much as you can, setting up those systems so that you're not worried about it, so that you can focus on delivering that value. Mm-hmm. So you can charge, well, I know we hate this, charge your worth, but charge what? Put it this way. If you were to ask your customer, how much would it be worth for you? What's the value to you to get this end result? And some people are like, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. To me, that's worth like $5,000. And there you go. Exactly. That's how much you can charge, right? Exactly. And then you just have to deliver the results.
Yes.
And feel confident in it. Like we talk about imposter syndrome. I actually have a really good episode with Tracy Litt. She talked about how she doesn't believe in imposter syndrome. She thinks it was a construct that was kind of created to create this narrative around give women excuses as to why they can't achieve things. And there's part of it that I believe, but there's also most of it that I don't. I do believe, like they say, imposter syndrome is the difference between what you know you don't know and where you think you should be, right? So it's like some days I'd show up for work and I was like, oh my gosh, I am in the seat to coach a woman whose business revenue was $10 million ARR. I've never built a $10 million a year business. And here I am coaching this woman. Talk about the epitome of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
But I didn't coach her on how to make $10 million. I was coaching her on how to live an integrated life. She said, you're a mother, you're an entrepreneur. I see you have time on your hands, regardless of what my income is. How do you do it? And that's how we started to work together. And I gave her the value.
Mm-hmm. Right? I love that. I love that. And I think it's so true because imposter syndrome is something I echo what you're saying. I think it's an internal construct, I guess we'll say, and something that we battle internally. But we also, I think there is a certain level of, well, if I'm doing this or if I'm seen as this authority, then I also have to have done. It's like the coach of an NBA basketball team hasn't always, been the Michael Jordan of basketball, right? And we don't question that. A lot of times we don't even know where these coaches came from, right? And so it's just wild to me. Yes, you can coach without doing, I think.
Yeah, actually growing up, one of the best volleyball coaches in my region in high school was somebody who had never stepped a foot on the court before to play. But these people, they get the game. They just get it. They understand what a good layup is. They understand what a good pass is and where the players should be on a court. Doesn't mean they had to have done it.
Yes.
That's an example. But we'll go back to the weight loss example. And I know diet culture people are probably going to hate me for bringing this up. However, I'm going to say this. You probably don't want to get weight loss advice from somebody who is obese.
I agree.
Right? And there, I said it. Yeah. You want to get it from somebody who's either considered healthy, whatever the weight is, or has been proven themselves or with other people that they can help them lose weight. Yes. It's kind of like a unhealthy doctor. It's like, if your family doctor is extremely unhealthy and is smoking packs of cigarettes out back all day, like get another doctor.
Yeah, probably not going to take your advice.
No. So you need to find the people that, as a customer that have done it before. And I even say at the beginning of this podcast is some of the best advice comes from those who have successfully done it before. Doesn't mean you had to have been the player on the court. Ladies, my Sidelines to Headlines program has a few spots available for the new year. Want to say your name in lights, as in get some media wins? Getting media attention doesn't have to be difficult. You just need to work with an experienced publicist and develop a scalable system to get into your dream publications. And that's what Sidelines to Headlines is all about. This Done For You program was created for women like you who don't have the time or know how to get consistent media and wants to work alongside a fun and quirky professional. That would be me, with hundreds of media wins under my belt, running an agency that got clients in the Steve Harvey Show, Forbes, Wired, you name it, writing a book about it, and knowing how vital PR is for small businesses. I wanted to bring this method to women-led businesses and help them kickstart their media campaigns without the agency price. So, if getting media wins is part of your 2023 marketing plan, then head over to wewildwomen.com/sidelines to headlines. Now, I only work with a select few women-led businesses at a time in order to provide the best creative attention each woman deserves. So if you're eager, then take a minute to complete the application form to see if we're a great fit, and hopefully so, that we can start working together and get your name in the spotlight. So head on over to wewildwomen.com/sidelines to headlines. See you there. Where do you often see money blocks stopping us from hitting home runs in our business?
Everywhere. I mean, I think our money beliefs and our money stories run so deep. And in fact, a lot of our money mindset is actually formed in childhood. So if you can imagine, by the age of 7, that's when our natural money mindset has already been formed. So what did you hear as a kid? What did you see? What didn't you hear? What didn't you see? It all impacts how you handle your money. And so if you grew up in a household where maybe you saw struggle, or you heard arguments, or you just felt that you didn't have enough, you might, when you're running your business, operate from a sense of, I need to hold on to this. I can't invest in you because what if it's gone tomorrow? And that is one of those money blocks that we can work through them, but you have to understand how your brain naturally wants you to think about money, because that will determine which blocks you likely have. You know, there's 7 different money mindsets that I speak with clients on and help coach them through. And it's not to ever change them, because you can't change your personality. You can't change that aspect. But what you can do is start to build a system, a structure to help support how you naturally think about money. So if you're that person who wants to hold on to it, is afraid to invest in systems and help and a coach, let's say, or a mentor, that's because your brain is trying to keep you safe and is telling you, right back to that little girl, that you might not have money tomorrow. So you need to hold on to the money that you have today. And so what we can do is we can build an account for you so that you feel really safe once you get to that level of saying, okay, I've reached that milestone. Now let's invest. Now let's get that support, that system. And once you do that, every time I've worked with clients that have worked through that block, especially, they have seen it come back tenfold, because that's the barrier, you know, and it's so cool to see that happen, that transformation.
So what about people that are on the other end of the spectrum, the ones that are the spenders?
Yeah, I mean, that would be me. So, I mean, we just need another system in place. So a lot of times it doesn't feel safe for us to have money. So we want to let go of it, because money means so many different things to us. It could mean that other people are going to take our money. It could mean that we're going to have this perception of being greedy, or there's so many different reasons why those beliefs come up. And so if you're the other way, then we have to find a way to hold on to your money a little bit better. So maybe that's structuring different bank accounts so that one is locked away, and once the money goes in, you make it more difficult to access those funds. Or maybe you have to make more of a plan. And a lot of times, if you are a spender, we need to really make sure we have a good spending plan. So I think that's not often addressed. Is we talk about saving, investing, things like that, but we don't often have a plan around spending, which is the fun part. And so I think if you're naturally minded to spend money, then let's get you a really rocking spending plan that you feel good, that doesn't feel restrictive, that doesn't feel like you're on a diet or on a budget, right? And I think that's really the important thing. So
One of the things that comes up with a lot of entrepreneurs too is like when to outsource, delegate, or make that first hire. And I know there's a lot of money blocks around that. How do you help people work through that?
Oh, it's so good. So I think there's two ways. So there's certain things that I can't not see. So if you are bleeding money in your business and you are barely making ends meet, there's something there that we have to fundamentally fix. So is your offer not right? Is what you're trying to put out in the world, does that need some help? But assuming that you have a profitable business and you really want to be able to maximize that, and that the next step to scale, which
right.
That word is kind of triggering sometimes. But I mean, if you know that that's kind of the next step, it's like having a baby. I don't think there's ever a right time. There's always going to be reasons why you can justify it or justify not doing it. But I think that the moment that you decide to do it is the right time. And that might sound like a non-answer, but I think that it really depends on the business owner and where they're at. If it's a brand new business, yeah, maybe you want to get going right away and you want to invest that money. But if your mindset is one that's like, no, I need to do this a little bit slower, there's nothing wrong with that. And you can take a baby step towards that. So maybe instead of hiring your first employee, maybe you just start with a VA for a month and sign a month contract, and that's it. And that, for me, that back against the wall, I have to make money here because I've now hired somebody. You start doing the income producing activities that are necessary to make sure that your employee is paid. You'll pay your employee before you ever pay yourself. And so if you know that, and you're somebody that is maybe struggling doing those 3 or 4 things that you need to do to attract clients or get clients on the phone, that sort of thing, then I think it might be the catalyst to really help push you to do those activities and get consistent. Mm-hmm. It's all about habits, I think. It's all about creating those healthy business habits. And you'll know, I think with the help of somebody who's done it and somebody who's been there, I think you'll eventually know, yes, now this is the problem that I want to solve now. And, you search out the people that I think can help get you there.
I love the idea of setting that as a goal, right? So especially if you're a solo entrepreneur or maybe you have an employee or a couple of contractors, but thinking about what it is you actually want to work on in your business in a day, which is like the queen bee role, which is what you should be doing. And dreaming of the day you can delegate those things. The perfect thing to do is to write that on your calendar. So what's the date that you're going to delegate? So if it's like 3 months from now or 6 months from now, that's the day you're no longer going to do those tasks. Well, you're going to have to pay somebody else to do it, which means you're going to have to increase your revenues in order to afford that person. Mm-hmm. And really, most of the time when this happens, if you do it well, you end up growing your business.
Yes.
Because you're working on the things that you need to do to grow the business, not like dipping your toes in designing Canva stuff or filling out intake forms for podcasts.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. So 2 last questions. How do you believe, or what do you believe it takes to overcome imposter syndrome?
The way I've always approached it, because I had a lot of this even before being a business owner. I'm not somebody who identifies as being good at math. And so being in financial services, you can appreciate, I feel like always
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I'd always felt like nobody can find out that I need to use a calculator, right? Nobody can know this. And which is so ridiculous because you do not need to. Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like for me, my imposter syndrome really started very early on in my career about the math stuff. And then becoming a business owner, where I really felt like I made the biggest strides with that was answering the question of, if my service was not in the world, how would that impact somebody? Mm-hmm. And so I really looked at the transformation that I was providing. I've helped women leaving marriages be able to financially be able to go on their feet and be financially independent. I've helped women leave their businesses or leave their corporate job and start businesses and know that they're going to be okay. They can still put food on the table. They can still pay for hockey registration and all of the things. And so if my service wasn't available, how many women would still be in marriages that are toxic? How many, and I just started flowing from that. And I really started answering that question of how would the world be impacted if my service wasn't there? And I literally brainstormed 100 different ways. And I look at that. I used to look at it every day. I don't look at it every day now because I feel like I feel good about the work that I'm doing and the service that I'm providing. But that's really helped me.
I love that question. So if my offer wasn't in the world, how would that impact people?
Yeah.
Because anything about that, maybe even if, I don't want to say just, but that one person's life that you've changed.
Yeah.
And it could be, exactly. Yeah. That's so beautiful. Okay. One last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that for you?
For me, it really means going after what I want, not what everyone else wants, not what I think I should want. It's what do I actually want and who do I want to be known for? I think we get so caught up with what other people are doing and, especially if you look at money, what so-and-so is making, what kind of car they drive, and we can get really influenced by our exterior, Instagram posts and the highlight reels. And I think once you can really be comfortable with the life that you are creating for yourself, for your family, and just not, I almost swore. And just not, just put those blinders on to just really live the life that you will be proud of. Because I work with women who have debt and they feel a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around their debt. And at the end of the day, you're not going to end up with a tombstone that says was, $20,000 in debt. Like that's not going to happen. You want to be known for the legacy that you're going to leave on this world. And so I think I want to be really, really proud of who I am and the type of character that I'm putting out there. So to me, being a wild woman is just staying in my lane, not looking around too much, and just really going after what I want.
Yay, stay in your lane. Well, Heidi, if people want to go online to find you, where can they go?
Awesome. They can reach me on Instagram is where I mostly hang out. I just started on TikTok, but on Instagram at Heidi Ruhmor, so it's just my first name and last name. And I also have a private Facebook community that's called Women Building Wealth, a safe place for women to talk about money. So that's available on Facebook. And I also have a podcast called Ditch the Budget. So on iTunes and Spotify.
Great. I'll put all those in the show notes. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Renee.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time, the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.